Guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to take you through a quick practice routine today. It's just a little glimpse into how I'm currently practicing at this time of year. So as you can see, still winter here in England. So still mixing in a little bit of technical work. And what you're going to see today is probably around 20 to 25% technical work. And then moving on to the rest of the practice being a little bit of random practice. And we're going to finish with a little competitive game as well. So I'm just going to take you through the process I will go through for a typical driving range practice routine. I'm going to work particularly on irons today and iron strike, and working through a variety of manipulating ball flight and playing a little bit with direction and height as well. So first thing we'll always do is get warm, which I've already done. So I'll tag the warm-up that I would normally do up at all here so you can follow that. Just a quick little warm-up routine that you can do at the driving range. It takes less than 2 minutes for you to go through that routine. So you can get your bucket balls, go through that routine. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to divide out the balls that we're going to use for each session. Okay, so each section of this session. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 balls, and these are going to be 5 balls I'm going to use for the first part of my technical practice. Now, at the moment for me, I'm working on 2 main things with irons particularly. So this session would look a little bit different depending on what I'm currently working on or what part of the game I'm going to work on the day. But with irons, I'm working on 2 specific things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the 2 sets of 5 balls, and that's going to be my technical practice, which you might think doesn't seem like a lot, 10 balls. But when you see how we're going to put this together, you can see actually hitting 5 balls on each of these drills is enough for me to match up to my blueprint. So at Macro Golf, we believe a lot in blueprints, and we believe a lot in trying to stay as close as you can to your blueprint, which that means is building a swing that is based around your tendencies, physical restrictions, your strengths and weaknesses, and then trying to build a swing around that, and then making sure that we're just tapping into that blueprint often and checking in on that blueprint to make sure that everything's good. So the 2 things I'm currently working on, number 1 is starting to get my right hand to be a little bit more active through impact and through strike. So I'm actually a left-handed player who plays right-handed. So my tendency is to get very, very active through left hands, and I can actually swing the golf ball pretty well just left hand only. But right hand is useless. It just feels weak, and it feels horrible, and it feels alien. So for me, I'm constantly having to work on getting this right hand to get a little bit stronger and get a little more active. So for me, as I'm standing here, I could quite easily clip balls away left hand only. I would feel very awkward to clip balls right hand only. So part of my kind of skill and practice is starting to try and get this right hand to get a little bit more involved. So this would form the first part of my technical practice. It might form a bit of the warm up as well. But essentially what I'd be looking to do is get a feel for what it's like to get this right hand to be involved. So I like to be very flowy through my feet, and essentially I would be just using this right hand to whip the club down and through. So this is very much developing a bit of a feel for me of this right hand, creating some speed down at impact. So I'm just really feeling the point at which I create that speed. So I'd do a few repetitions there. I would then pull the ball in. I'd do a few more. And then I'd try and take this into actually hitting the golf ball. So I'm going to take my normal grip, work it through, and actually hit the ball. So it's obviously been very hard to actually hit a decent golf shot like that. But I can get some information off ball flight. So I know for me, if I get too kind of flippy with this right hand, I'll start to see the ball kind of do what it did there, which is basically come out a little bit low and a little bit left. Whereas if I get the timing right and get this working a little bit more down to the ground, which is the feel that I'm after, then suddenly I'll get this nice kind of penetrating straight ball flight. So although I don't really care necessarily about like quality of strike or these things while doing these drills, I can definitely get some information on what's going on and how well I'm getting that feeling. So I'm kind of trying to go this way. So let's try that again. So much straighter kind of ball flight there. So it's a little bit better. Still just a tiny bit fat. So I'm going to work through this again. So you can see actually how long it takes to hit these 5 balls. Trying to get that feeling. Just going through. So strike with a little bit better, still just a tiny bit left. So what I'll find is that by around ball 4 or 5, I've kind of sussed it out. That means that I've just checked in, just saying, what I'll find is the more regularly I do this, I actually get better at it quicker. So I've not done this for a while, so it's going to take me a little bit longer. And I know it seems very different to the golf swing, but you'll see how this all will match up in a sec. That's much closer. Still a tiny bit left, but much better. Looking around again, see every time I'm going back, working through this right hand, trying to get this feeling of pushing out. See if we make this the best one yet. Definitely the best one. Cool. So, not sure how long that took. You guys will be able to tell me. But that'll kind of be like stage one of the technical work I'm trying to do. I would say that's very similar to kind of like actually just warming up a little bit deeper. So I'm not really making kind of full swings at this point. And actually, I do very little technical practice with full swings. Probably driver only is a bit that I would do, maybe some full swing technical work. But just trying to get that feeling of releasing the right hand at the time, for me, is just a skill that kind of needs to be developed. So that'd form part one of technical practice. Part two, for me, and my blueprint and what I'm trying to work on at the moment is, and I've got a perfect mirror opposite me here, is to avoid me moving off of the golf ball too much. So if I show you from here, I'm trying to avoid winding and moving off of the golf ball. For me, I do a really good job in my golf swing. One of my tendencies that's a very strong tendency of mine, working with Jack on what my blueprint would be, I do a really good job of rotating out of the shot, which means if I get too far off it, my tendency then is to suddenly spin and get stuck. So I can definitely, my feeling is that I'm trying to stay a little bit more on top, almost feel like I'm trying to stay stacked onto it, which it won't be for me. And then I can rotate hard at that. Gets me using the ground a little bit better. And basically just improves strike. Definitely with irons, but also transfers across to driver for me as well. So what I'll do now is using this mirror opposite me, I'll kind of make a few swings. I'll feel that position, feel that I've not moved off, feel that I've not moved off. I'll then step into the golf ball. I've pulled my 5 balls out. So my normal stance. I'll then make one more practice swing. Feel I've not moved out. And then I'll just hit one at like 75%. So I'm still taking that first feeling from the first set of technical work into this second one. So that's why at the moment I quite like doing it in this order. I can almost feel like with this drill, I'm developing a little bit of feel for the hands. And then from here, I'm kind of taking this into a little bit more of a full swing feel. And then essentially I'll kind of match the two together on my final set of balls. So yeah, I'm still thinking about this hand, but it's less important. I'm definitely thinking more about stack, staying centered, watching that for a visual cue. Sometimes I'll set a camera up as well. And I'm going to address the ball, do the same thing. And then I'll hit 75%. So my tendency always is actually, it's happened the same here today, my technical work, pretty much always see the ball left of target. I think it's just whenever I slow things down, typically I'll see things start to move left. So it's not that I'm trying to move against that, it's just that I'm using that as my reference point for if I make a really good move here, it probably won't be as far left. But when I speed it up, the lefts go away. So I'm not overly worried. I'm just kind of aware of it. I might even go back and make a few little moves there. See how slow we're working through these balls. It's actually pretty crazy how slow we can hit kind of 5 or 10 balls. Step back in, make an exaggerated feel, stack, and back in. Cool. So I'll whiz through these last two. I'll speed you up. Nothing more to see here. Okay, so typically that would be technical session done. And I would move into my random practice. Okay, so moving on to the random part of the practice, I've changed clubs, moved into an 8-iron now. So before I was hitting 9-iron, I'm gonna move into an 8-iron. Literally no reason for that, apart from I don't like to wear the grip out on the same club. So my technical work, I'll kind of move from maybe anywhere from pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron, somewhere around that. I just like to rotate so I don't wear the grip out. But Moving on to random practice, this would be a little bit more deliberate on what club I would use for what game I'm going to play. So the first thing I'm going to do is what I call random flights, or varied flights, and we've got this in our Macro Golf practice plans that we give to a lot of our clients. And here, essentially, I'm going to take the same club, and I'm basically going to rotate through varied heights. So I'm going to hit one very low, one medium height, and one high. And I'm going to try and, we sometimes change flight as well in terms of like draw fade. So we can go high, low, draw fade. You can even do random generator and just number them. So like 1 to 9, like Tiger Woods is a 9-winner drill. Or you can just stay straight if you want to just work specifically just on height, or you can even just do fade draw, whatever. So I'm going to do the varied height today. So I'm going to take 6 balls. I'm going to do 1 low, 1 medium, 1 high, and then I'm going to go back down, low, medium, high. Okay. So here, this is the challenging part. All that technical work is now done, and we need to basically try and remove that out of our head. So the only thing I'll take into this is maybe some kind of practice swing. So for me, always the feeling of this right hand is always very important. So you might see me make a few swings that are just like that. But essentially, I'm just trying to see the shot that I'm trying to hit. I've got this nice kind of flag in front of me here, which this mat is lined up just to the right of that flag. So essentially, I'm going to try and hit the same target in terms of direction every single time. But all I'm going to really do is kind of just walk into this ball and feel how I can make this ball go low, go medium or high. So very, very little technical thought, and pretty much all just thinking about execution on making this ball do what I want to do. And I just hope that a lot of the technical work that I've done either over the months or from earlier today carries itself into executing good quality strikes, right? So I'm just going to walk in. I can see my exact target I'm trying to go. So I'm going to go low first. So I'm not even going to really think specifically about how I'll make this go low. I'm just going to walk in, see a low shot, and just try and execute a low golf shot. So that was pretty decent, not far off my mark at all. It was definitely low. It was probably maybe a tad short of distance. Don't really care too much about distance at this point. It's just, can I make this ball fly low? So me, if I was doing a kind of random game, I would say that was a tick. That ball came out low. So now I need to kind of think of stock yardage, which means I'll probably step back onto this a little bit more and think a little bit more into my normal routine of just how would I hit a stock shot onto that target, which for me is just kind of on this like blue green that's out there. I'm just on the right edge of this blue green. So walk in with normal routine, just a stock shot here. Okay, pretty good. Probably saw on this camera that was a tiny bit higher, and that would be around about stock height for me. So let's move into the high one. So here I'm definitely going to feel this. Again, I'm not even going to explain how I would even do this. I'm just going to kind of feel it. I'm just kind of keep my eye on that target. I'm not even going to think about how I make this ball high. I'm just going to allow my body to be athletic. Just try and get this ball going higher. Cool. So that's one loop round. Probably saw the different flights there. I'll cycle this again. Okay, so that would be my random height game. Basically 6 balls. Don't know how long that took, but I'll add all this up at the end. I'll let you know in the bottom how long all of this took. But essentially we've taken 5 balls technical, 5 balls technical, so 10, another 6 balls now is up to 16. So now sometimes I'd move on to another random game, but I'm actually going to show you a competitive game now. Okay, so moving on to the competitive part of the practice, what we're trying to do here is just create a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of focus, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress, and a bit of consequence to what we're doing, right? So loads of different options here. We can do top tracer games, we can do trackman games, we can do fairway games. There's a million different options for us to create some pressure in our practice. The one I'm going to do today is we've got a nice little blue green out here, which is around 105 yards away. I'm essentially just going to hit 5 shots consecutively onto that green. So that's going to be basically, if I miss one, I'll go back to 0. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all these shots because it sometimes lasts ages and sometimes doesn't. So I'll probably just fast forward through these. But this game can be over after 5 balls, or it can take 50 balls, right? Depending on if you're on it that day. And you can make this as hard or as easy as you want, right? So sometimes you might say, well, I can't go home until I finish 5 consecutive shots. But your target could be, it might just be like a 20-foot radius from 50 yards. Could be this green here, which is, I think, 20 foot each way. So you're probably looking at a 40-yard width on 105 yards. You can make it as hard as you want. We don't want to make it too difficult, so we don't want to just be there all day, but we're essentially trying to create a hard enough challenge that it's going to create a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress, and actually make you think a little bit about what you want to do. So for sure, what's now going to happen is you'll probably see me focus up a little bit more. You'll probably see me go through a little bit more of a closer routine. And I'm starting to actually think about this actually quite a lot now. And I'm looking here saying wind taken into consideration, the fact that I've got a range ball comes into consideration, because I'll think, well, I've got 105-yard shots, I'll probably need to hit this at least 110. So now I'm starting to see a little bit more process going through my mind. I've got to try and see the shot, how I'm going to hit it. I'm going to try and hit kind of a knockdown punch shot here, which should be about right with this club. So you see me step in, focus up a little bit more. Cool, so it's good. I don't know if you can, you might even be able to see on this camera. I don't know if you might be able to see on this camera if I'm doing it or not, so hopefully you can. Let's see hit number 2. Okay, so I just found myself there, walking straight into that ball. You probably saw on this camera here that I just walked straight in as if I was just scraping and hitting. I'm really trying to avoid that. That's where I'm going to start hitting poor shots. I'm going to walk back, pretend I'm actually hitting a proper golf shot here, find something to line up against, lay the club down, come into routine, and execute. Hopefully you saw that one on here as well. 2 out of 2, so far so good. But I can't guarantee that I would have definitely hit that again if I would have just scraped in and hit. So I need to get into the habit again of coming back. And this is how this competitive practice is completely different to the technical. So much of this is about our process, our routine, visualization. See this shot here. See that one? Okay, so that was a little bit long left. So it was on the line. It was like laterally okay, but I think that would have missed the green long. So I would give myself cross for that. So I'm just going to speed through these so you haven't got to watch me, and I'll see you on the side to debrief. Okay, so I missed one there at the start, so I had to start again. Did my 5, so actually it was relatively quick, but I probably picked an easy one. 105 yards, not the most difficult shot in the world, but I didn't want to have you here all day. So hopefully you can start to see a little bit of structure there. We've taken it through the technical work. You can see kind of the change in tempo from the technical work, the speed at which the golf ball is hit. When we move on to the random practice, you can start to see that the technical kind of thoughts have gone by that point, and we're starting to think a little bit more about executing this golf shot. And then we move on to competitive, you can see it's definitely about full routine, really trying to execute a shot under a little bit more pressure. So hopefully you can kind of see the difference there. This would be probably one of the shorter sessions that I would go through. You can obviously lengthen this out with a little bit more technical work, or lengthen out with a few more random games or a few more competitive games. This would be a very express kind of practice session. You see we did 5 balls at the start, 5 balls plus, so it takes us to 10. Then we did 6, and then I think I hit like 8 or 9 in that game. So very, very few golf balls, right? So it's actually kind of dragging your bucket out quite a lot as well. So if you think that's like 25 balls roughly, if you just do 50 balls, it could be taking you about an hour to go through 50 balls with this kind of level of practice, right? So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm going to be doing some more videos like this. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you also complete the Macro Golf Performance Audit. Link is below. You can fill that out to see how you're practicing and measure your practice against quality practice. We believe it's the most efficient at Macro Golf. But until then, guys, see you in the next video.